So I'm not reading the essay that's in the book. I decided I would read an excerpt of this novel that I've actually recently just finished. I'm editing it. I'm about to send it out into the world. All you really need to know is that this is the protagonist talking about her on and off sweetheart since childhood, who's a big sleepwalker, and he's also abusive in his sleep. And so she's talking about a time in which she tried to see whether she could make something better come out of the fact that he has in his sleep. All right. Airports and airplanes to me still seem like the happy future we've all been told so much about. So many small pleasures exist in hurtling towards the ones we miss. The cheerful assistance of the steel-moving walkway, the ready availability of anything we might need in miniature or in excess, the series of immaculate and anonymous spaces. As the plane ascends, I listen to my ragged breathing and remember, with my right hand resting on my abdomen and my left foot over my right. In the space behind my eyes, the past plays in technicolor. Pink and yellow light shines through the faces in my memories as if they were constructed of rice paper, and I try, with such an aching, to replicate a smell, to recreate the laughter of those long gone, to set these stories in my head in stone so that they can be done with. A coincidence, the fact that his sleep life has ceased since us, is what those close to me have gently suggested out of obligation, but I remember that look. Though he wouldn't come out and say it, Jackson believed I had something to do with it, because why else would I go on forgiving him? Shortly after his 25th birthday, I began to hand him pieces of charcoal and large expanses of paper in his sleep, glue and bits of tulle peculiar in color, string, broad-stroke paintbrushes. What followed were images so compelling that one could not help but put their palm to their mouth and tilt their head sideways and breathe a little quieter out of respect. Skeletons of lovers slumped towards each other in embraces beneath the earth, almost part of the roots but not quite assimilated, their backs, you could tell, broken. Sad-looking monsters with jagged triangles of teeth, trying to hold the too delicate in their large claws, pretty little boxes ruined, birds dead or dying. All of it in lines, make no mistake, deliberate. Though there was a softness, it did not come from any hesitancy on the part of the artist. I had only wished to produce some other proof of the life that Jackson kept while he slept, some evidence besides the destruction of our home, the bruises and scratches on my body, but it was an experiment he grew to resent me for. He did not wish to believe that all those lines and curves had come from him without his permission or trust. More so, he was uncomfortable with the fascination he felt in the mornings, tracing his fingers over the roots of ink or paint, turning the pieces over as if expecting an explanation on the back. At first, we experienced a certain joy in looking at them together, his eyes bulging, a slow grin spreading on his face, him drumming his fingers down my spine in affection. But then he began pulling out the tools in the daytime, assuming that if he had created these glorious stretches of melancholy sea creatures and skeleton lovers and the like in his sleep, he could do so just as well at our kitchen table while the sun was still shining. It caused him great distress when he found that he couldn't even hold the instruments comfortably, no less summon whatever inspired him so while unconscious. Cheap reproductions ensued. The lines had no confidence, and what had been stunning and jagged just seemed sloppy. That which was evil, but hopeful and lovely in its desperation for redemption, manifested in the daytime as only malevolent and one-dimensional, a quality similar to that of a playground bully who is feared but hasn't much of a following. His face then, at the table he lovingly sanded, trying to speak a language he didn't know, was unbearable. I could only imagine what it was to literally compete with yourself. Being with someone for so long, forever practically in our case, made witnessing an experience so private, so unreachable by empathy, induce a pain in me that was sharp and many-pronged. After several weeks, he gave up. He bought a large old trunk and placed the pieces we'd hung inside of it. He slept like I'd never seen him sleep. No words gurgling up from his dreams. Very little movement, breathing steady and predictable. The peaceful sleeping lasted 2.5 weeks, and all the pieces remained locked up in quiet. I half expected them to speak. While a few times I rose in the early morning to find Jackson not next to me, I found him only in the kitchen making coffee. When he wasn't in the house, he was down the street buying donuts and fresh flowers. My careful awareness of his whereabouts made him angry. He wanted me to enjoy the baked goods and wide-smiling sunflowers and believe, like he did, that it was over. In his mind, I suppose, he hoped the art he produced in uneasy, nearly dawn light was an expression that his sleep had finally said what it wanted. And who could blame him? But it had stopped before, and there were still bruises on my body. One morning I woke cold. All the windows in our bedroom and kitchen were open, and our schizophrenic city had put the sun away somewhere and brought the fog back. A plate was set on the kitchen table. On it was a roll of toilet paper, our salt shaker, and a fistful of pennies from the jar we kept by the door. The door was open. I dressed quickly. I was lucky this time and spotted Jackson a half a block down crossing Mission, wearing his best suit and the hat I'd bought him at a joke shop. It sat slightly off balance, and the little red plastic propeller lolled forward with a slight breeze. The balls of my feet were agile, and they carried me through the mist just as a 49 pulled up and blocked my view of him. The bus groaned as I approached it, gave the warm chuff of departure, its windows empty and smiling. I cursed and kept running, passing all things inert and defenseless. The Mexican market's fruit stands, covered in tarps, collecting dew, hiding lumpy secrets. Homeless couples pressed together under cartoon character blankets, their collection of precious garbage placed carefully around them. The sleeping, skinless cat in the window of the always vacant odds and ends shop, who had no idea how ugly it was. It took 5 blocks to catch up with the bus. The driver, an aging woman at the end of her shift, did not look up as I fumbled for my pass. Please reserve the front seats for seniors, the bus warned to no one, and other persons with disabilities. He sat at the very back, his hands in his lap, the propeller on his hat moving with the air that came through the cracked window, a quiet, deranged smile fastened to him. Had I sense or energy, I would have woken him or tried to redirect his course. But a shopping cart with a lazy wheel rarely cooperates, and there is something sweet in its commitment to annular wobbling. When the person you share a bed with snores or thieves the blankets or domineers the sleeping space, they are still the person you love. Jackson was still the person I loved, so I sat down and I waited. Thank you.